Analytics are great, but don't let them be the foundation on which you play fantasy football. They're best utilized as a peripheral tool only.
Tyler Boyd's dip in production last year better correlates with Andy Dalton being off the field than it does with A.J. Green being off the field, despite public perception.
You can't watch just highlight film because highlight film only shows the good things. Watch the player's actual game tape because you see the good and the bad.
In 7 games in 2018, where all 3 starting Rams receivers were healthy, Brandon Cooks led the trio in targets, receptions, receiving yards, and total PPR points by a considerable margin.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the newest episode of the RotoBros 2020 NFL Draft Scouting Brief Series. We're moving right along here as we have been all off season. We're going to try to hit as many of these draft prospects as possible. Tonight we got a running back for you. So we've already done DeAndre Swift, we've done J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Cam Akers. We got many more to do, obviously. But if you guessed that the next one up was going to be Utah running back Zack Moss, well, let me tell you something. You got it right. So Zack Moss is going to be the focus tonight, guys. Again, the running back from Utah. He's in a lot of people's top 5s in this draft class. So will he be in my top 5? Will he even be in my top 10? We'll have to see. I'm not ready to release my top 10s, but pretty much ready to release my my top 5. So, but we can get to that at a later date. We'll probably get to that on the Dynasty podcast that Mark and I will be cranking up here in the next couple months for you guys. So let's get right to it here. Zack Moss, running back from Utah. Guys, he's got prototypical size. Okay, 5'10", 222 pounds. That's kind of where he's at right now. So he's kind of got a little bit of that Rashad Penny size. Now that's not obviously an NFL comp. I don't think I'm really comping Zack Moss to really any specific running back in the NFL. I don't really think there's like a hard comparison. You guys know me. I don't really like to compare players to NFL players unless there is a clear, obvious match and it just screams at me when I'm watching their film. I don't really have. I mean, Zack Moss has got a couple little traits. Like he's got a little bit of Kareem Hunt in him. But that's pretty much it. Like I don't see, one running back in the NFL where it's like, oh my God, Zack Moss reminds me of him. It's not like it is with DeAndre Swift and LaShawn McCoy, right? I just don't have a hard comparison for Zack Moss, which is fine. That's not a bad thing. But just letting you guys know they're not expect one. So again, 5'10", 222 pounds. He's more athletic than your typical, 5'10", 220 pound running back. Okay. He's nimble, but he's very strong. He's a power back. Okay. We're going to get to this a little more in a second, but he is a power back. He's not the easiest guy to bring down when he gets some speed built up. And that's actually not very often because Zack Moss hardly ever breaks loose for, 10 to 15 plus yard runs. You're just not going to see it from the guy. He's not going to wow you with his speed, and he really doesn't have that long speed. He's not that fast. I would expect him, to run in the 4.5s, and it honestly would not surprise me if he ran in the 4.6s. So if he hits a 4.6 or a high 4.5, it will not surprise me. I do expect it to be more mid to high 4.5. I don't think he's going to approach the 4.4 mark, but you never know. Sometimes these guys will surprise you, when they run the 40 at the combine. I don't think we should expect that from Zack Moss. Speed is not where this guy excels. We're going to get to where he excels and, a couple things that he'll need to work on as well. So he's got a thick frame. Look, again, 5'10", 222. So he's solid. Okay. He's built solid. He is no, slouch when it comes to measurables. So he's got a thick frame. Again, he's definitely a power back. But a lot of times you don't see these running backs that are in the 5'10", 220 range. They're usually not great pass catchers. You know what I mean? They're usually not great in the receiving game. They usually have a lot of work to do in the receiving game. Not Zack Moss. Okay, Zack Moss has got the receiving chops. The problem is he wasn't used as much as often as you would like to see. But it didn't matter for him. He was productive nonetheless. Like I said, he's better than advertised in the receiving game. He was 5th. Zack Moss was 5th in the nation in 2019 in receiving among all running backs in the country. And he only had 28 catches. 5th, think about that for a minute. 5th in the nation. Go look at the receiving statistics for running backs in the country. Okay? And look at the amount of passes that some of these guys caught. Zack Moss was 5th in the nation in receiving yards among all running backs on only 28 catches. So he's efficient with the ball in his hands out of the backfield. All right. He was not even top 15 in catches, but finishes top 5 in receiving yards. Very, very impressive to me. And you can see it on his tape. He is a very good pass catcher. He's got soft, reliable hands, doesn't drop passes. There were a couple passes that really sailed over his head, but I mean, he's 5'10", he's not 6'4". So in a lot of that had to do with Tyler Huntley, the quarterback for the Utes. So I don't think he has a problem with, at least I didn't see it. He doesn't have a problem with dropping passes. So he's probably going to be a reliable pass catcher at the next level, which is a good thing. And I'm going to pause here for a second because I want to make that clear. He's a good runner, he's a good receiver, and he's good at pass pro and blitz pickup. We're gonna get to that here in just a second. So he has got really all of the intangibles that you look for in a running back to be that every down workhorse, right? He's got it all. He's good at it all. But let me tell you, he's a good runner. He's a good receiver. But guys, Zack Moss might be the best running back in the draft when it comes to pass pro and blitz pickup. This guy does not screw around. He is nothing to screw with when you're rushing the passer and he's right there in front of you between you and the quarterback. Okay, this guy is rock solid in pass pro blitz pickup. He wasn't in a ton of these situations outside of a few games. And if you remember, if you go back to the DeAndre Swift, scouting brief, that was one of the things about DeAndre Swift and a couple other players in this draft. At running back, these guys were not put in a ton of situations to really show off their pass protection ability. Okay, I think Zach was probably put in that situation more than DeAndre was. But again, that was one of the things with DeAndre. It's not that DeAndre was bad at pass blocking. He just didn't have a lot of experience because he wasn't put in that situation very often, right? When Elijah Holyfield last year played with him, okay, Elijah was the one in most of those pass protection. We saw how he excelled. DeAndre just doesn't have as much experience in that area. Zack Moss doesn't have as much experience as you would like, but he's got more than DeAndre and a couple of these other guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And he is very, very, very good in this area. And this is one of the things, if nothing else, it's going to keep him on the field on 3rd and 4th down. Okay. Again, he is one of the best running backs in the draft in this area. He is better in this area than I thought he would be before I turned on his film. I did not think he was going to be, I thought he'd be average, but he clearly excelled in pass protection and blitz pickup. He really shows you just how good he is in this area in the Pac-12 title game against Oregon. And again, in the Alamo Bowl against Texas. So 2 games late in the year, that's where you really, against, rock solid competition in very important football games, you really see how good he is in pass protection. And that's one thing I wanted to pay attention to when I got to his tape later on in the year. And he really did not disappoint, obviously. He constantly sets his feet, squares up, uses every inch of that frame in his strength to keep defenders at bay. This is why he has a shot, like I said, to stick as an every down running back in the NFL. If he gets that shot, Okay. And he gets drafted because this guy's going to be a day 2 pick. He's not going to go in round 1. Okay. He's going to go in the 2nd or 3rd round. Zack Moss is. And so he may not, it's not a guarantee that he goes to a place where he is, not an immediate starter. Jonathan Taylor's probably going to be an immediate starter. DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins probably going to be immediate starters, right? Zack Moss is not guaranteed to do that. Now, Moss could go ahead of any of those 3 guys. We see the draft do crazy things all the time. Zack Moss could, go ahead of any of those 3 guys and end up being, a team that, needs a starting running back could very well end up taking Moss before J.K., Jonathan, or DeAndre, right? But it doesn't mean, obviously, that they will. He's likely to go after those guys. But if even if he does not latch on immediately as the starter or the early favorite to be the starter, he is going to show that he belongs on that field simply because of this trait. And I know it's not for the fantasy people listening. It's not the sexiest thing to talk about in the world, pass pro and blitz pickup, because it doesn't get you fantasy points, right? You're not going to see that on highlight films typically. But it is very, very important. And I'm going to give you my job here is to give you the full story on these guys. And that's what I'm going to do here with Zack Moss. So I'm going to give you every angle here. But again, this is why he has a shot to stick as an every down running back in the NFL. Not only that, but the other area in which which can keep you on the field as a running back, he's also very solid at ball security. I say it all the time. You guys could probably say it with me in unison at this point. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ball security and blitz pickup pass protection are the 2 things, if you are bad at them, will rip you off the field as a running back quicker than anything. It doesn't matter how good of a pass catcher you are. It doesn't matter how good of a running back you are between the tackles. It doesn't matter how well you know the playbook. It doesn't matter how good you are in the running back room with everybody else and how much of a leader you are in that backfield. If you cannot protect the $40 million passer on 3rd and 4th down, you're not going to see many snaps. Your coaches aren't going to trust you. And then if you add on to that, you can't. The coaches can't trust you to hold on to the football. You are not going to have a job very long. You may not even be on a team very long if you can't do those 2 things efficiently. Zack Moss does both very well. He actually improved his ball. I think he had 3 fumbles in 2018, which isn't great. 2019 he only has 1. So he improved in that area this season, and that's really exactly what you want to see. Out of a guy like Zack Moss. So again, he improved the ball security in 2019, and he's not going to enter the NFL with questions in this department with only 1 fumble in 2019. So hats off to Zack Moss for that, because again, that's a very important attribute for certain players to have, especially at running back, where that is such a vital attribute to have at that position. And look, going back to that game at Texas, you go back and you watch the game at Texas, or you look at the box score. The game at Texas, or against Texas rather, the Alamo Bowl, wasn't his best showing at all. Okay, Texas had him bottled up nearly all game long. Okay, even then, you can really tell on tape he's a gliding runner, right? He doesn't run really like anybody that I can. That he doesn't remind me when he runs the football of really anybody in the NFL. And that's, I guess, one reason why there's no hard comp for him. He's more of a gliding runner, but he has quick footwork, which is very, very good. He can stop on a dime, seemingly, especially at his size. And that's really impressive at 5'10", 222. He can stop on a dime and change direction in an instant. And he does a very, very good job of it. So that's something that you like to see. Again, we mentioned at the beginning of the show, very nimble running back for that size, but he's not able. He doesn't allow it to sap any of his power when he runs. He shows loose hips when evading defenders, and as I mentioned before, he's not the easiest guy to bring down. Okay, in fact, his contact balance and his balance as a whole is very good. He showed that a lot. If you go back and watch the which game was it? It was the Cal tape, California. When they played Cal, you can see several times at numerous occasions, especially one time in particular in the red zone when he runs the football in, you can see his balance and how aware he is that he's falling to the ground and stays up and actually gets into the end zone. So he showed that several times in the Cal game. So his contact balance and his balance as a whole, definitely not, up for debate there. Now, you listen to this thing, guys, and you probably think, okay, well, everything's been good. Everything's been glowing so far, right? Well, let's get to some of his red flags, I guess. Okay, some of the things that aren't as sexy about Zack Moss, right? So he doesn't have great lateral agility. Okay, he can stop on a dime and he can change direction really quick, but the lateral agility, that's not the same thing. The lateral agility is lacking a little bit, and look, he's again 5'10", 222. Typically, running backs at that size don't have great lateral agility unless they're a physical freak. Zack Moss is not a physical freak. Okay, he's not, Ezekiel Elliott or Saquon Barkley or Adrian Peterson. He's none of those guys. So his lateral agility is not really there, and many times you'll notice. I notice this a lot on the Texas and Oregon film. Many times you'll see him get bottled up very easily by defenders and caught at the ankles when he tries to do too much. He will try to bounce it outside and try to beat his defender to the, and he rarely ever does it. When the defender's in lock and step with him, he rarely ever does it. And you can see when defenders are coming at him, his long speed isn't there. He doesn't have, great speed like some of these other guys coming out. And so, when you try to catch him from behind, a lot of times he gets caught from behind, and he's not easy to bring down, but anybody's easy to bring down when you take their ankles and their legs out from under them, right? So a lot of teams know that, and they're obviously saying, okay, we can catch up to this guy. Tackling him up top is a little more difficult than we'd like. We can catch up to this guy. We just got to wrap him up at the legs, wrap him up at the ankles, and get this guy on the ground. So that's a lot of times you're going to see Zack Moss get taken down like that, and you can't really do anything about it. He just doesn't have that speed to do. So there's the question about, we talk about pass protection, blitz pickup. We talk about not fumbling the ball. You turn the ball over. We talk about being able to run the football between the tackles pretty well, being able to catch the football. And so you think, okay, well, this guy's just got it all to be an every down workhorse, right? He could be, but it's the speed and the lateral agility and how easy it is. And look, this was college. In the NFL, if he's getting taken down this easy and this often, from behind at the ankles, what's going to happen in the NFL? It's only going to increase, right? So he's going to have to figure out a way to take defenders out of the game in that aspect. But maybe it's something that he can. That's what running back coaches are for. I say it all the time. This is what people just think positional coaches, are just there. Like they don't realize. You talk about receivers like DK Metcalf can't run routes. That's why wide receivers coaches are. That's why they exist, to help receivers do that. Oh, this guy can't pass protect. Oh, this guy can't run between the tackles very well. Oh, he doesn't have great speed. How's he going to overcome that? That's what running backs coaches are for. They teach you these things. Okay, that's what positional coaches do. So it doesn't, just because Zach doesn't have that great long speed, like a Dalvin Cook or something, doesn't mean that he can't be a successful NFL running back and be a successful starter as well. So it's a question for me as well. Can he be not only an efficient, but an effective game by game, play by play, an effective workhorse running back? And so I think it's a fair question to ask. His vision also leaves a lot to be desired. I think it's not on par with guys in this draft that I've already scouted, like Cam Akers, Jonathan Taylor, CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and DeAndre Swift. Those guys have, great vision. But Zach doesn't really have that. And that's another thing that I think people are going to wonder, okay, can this guy be the effective, efficient, every down workhorse? We'll see. That's vision is not. It's not the easiest thing to teach. You can teach it, but it's not the easiest thing to teach for a running back. So we'll see how that happens. Again, it's not terrible, but it's also not near the top of this draft class. He's not. If we're ranking running backs with vision, he's toward the bottom of the top 10. Let's just be honest here. And some people might not even put him in the top 10 when it comes to vision. So keep that in mind as well. One thing I do like, though, again, he isn't a dancer behind the line. He's not. And he really is sort of a take care of business runner. Okay. He's not going to do a lot of dancing, not a lot of extracurricular activity going on before he hits the hole, before he crosses the line of scrimmage, which I like. Because he doesn't have the lateral agility to recover from that. LaShawn McCoy does, Cam Akers does, Jonathan Taylor, CEH, DeAndre Swift. Those guys have that. Okay, they can afford to do a little more dancing behind the line if need be. Zack Moss is not that type of runner. He gets caught dancing behind the line, he's getting taken down behind the line. Period. So again, but he doesn't have that problem though. He doesn't get in that bad habit. He's a take care of business runner. He gets the football, he makes a decision, and he goes. He doesn't waste a whole lot of time making a decision, which I really like. But he also doesn't run with a ton of burst, so you're going to see that again. The elite agility in this class is not there, especially laterally. And he doesn't have great get up and go speed. DeAndre Swift can, catch fire and, out of it. It's like he's running out of a cannon. It's not the same thing with Zack Moss. Zack Moss takes a little more time to really build up speed. I think that's another reason we go back earlier. We talk about how he doesn't break off for these 10 to 15 yard runs very often at all. That's going to be one of the reasons why he doesn't run with a whole lot of burst. He's got power, but he doesn't run with a whole lot of burst. So we'll kind of see how that goes here. Look, that's pretty much it I have on Zack Moss, guys. So I hope that really, kind of helped you learn a little bit about him. Again, I think he's a good running back in this draft. I kind of got to, really, of all the guys that I've watched taped on in these running backs here, some of them I haven't done briefs on yet. I really got to rank these guys and see where Zack Moss would fall. Most people, I think, are going to have him in the top 5. I don't know that I'll have him there, but again, I don't know that I won't. So we'll find out about that shortly. But yeah, I think he's a solid running back. I think he has some things to work on. There are a couple things like, again, lateral agility, long speed, burst, speed through the hole. And things and vision, things of that nature that I really think that the best workhorse running backs, possess. And that's not to say that, Zack Moss won't, break out for a year and help your fantasy team or, something like that, and be effective for a season. What I'm talking about is, can Zack Moss be a, 5 to 8 year rock solid starting running back in this league, like Ezekiel Elliott or Saquon Barkley or, someone like that, even a Mark Ingram, someone who can be around and be reliable and be pretty much a workhorse essentially for a lot of years. I don't know that Zack Moss has the overall ability and talent to do that, but he definitely has the intangibles to stick on a roster. He won't have a problem sticking on a roster and being a relevant running back in this league. He's going to get his chances to start because of injuries, whether he's the starter or not. He's going to get his opportunities, but I don't think, and he's certainly going to be at the very least, he's certainly going to be a solid handcuff, I think, for fantasy purposes. But I think it depends on where he goes. If you want to take him in the first round in your rookie drafts, I think I would probably feel safer maybe taking one of the better wide receivers over Zack Moss in the first round of a rookie draft. If it's pick 11 and Moss is still there and he's in like a so-so situation, then you got another, one of these other great deep running back, these quality wide receivers, in this draft. I think I would probably choose, at pick 11, somebody maybe like Henry Ruggs or Jalen Reagor from TCU, Justin Jefferson from LSU. There's guys like that I think, Michael Pittman Jr. from USC. There's so many of these guys at wide receiver that I think at pick 11 you may want to look at over Zack Moss. But again, if you need a running back, you could do a lot worse, I think, than Zack Moss. Because I think, again, wherever you draft him, as long as you don't draft him in the top 4 or 5 picks, I think you're really going to get, some quality production out of him at the very least. Even if he's not a starter, I think he can become like a quality, maybe a handcuff to the starter, and maybe they can split, 60-40, 70-30, something like that. And then when he's on the field, he's pretty effective. So I think that can be the case with Zack Moss, but I'm not ready to, call him a franchise running back like Zeke or Saquon or Dalvin Cook or someone like that yet. So anyway, I like Zack Moss. I think you just need to, we need to see kind of where he goes, what his situation ends up being as well. The talent is there, but I don't know what the ceiling is for Zack Moss. I don't think the ceiling is very high, but I do think the floor is fairly high for a guy like Zack Moss, who seemingly does most things well and just has a couple things to work on, again, like vision and speed and lateral agility and things of that nature. So, guys, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. Hopefully, like I said, I've kind of educated you a little bit on Zack Moss. Look, turn the tape on for yourself. You don't have to just take my word for it. If you do, I'm flattered. I appreciate it. But you don't have to do that as well. You can turn on YouTube yourself, type in Zack Moss versus on YouTube, and pull up all the 2019 tape and that's available, and look at all those games and listen to this scouting brief at the same time and see if you see the same things that I see that I'm telling you that I saw in his film as well. So, guys, if you have any questions about Zach or any of the other prospects we've done, or really anything fantasy or NFL draft related at all, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at RotoBros Chris. Again, the Mind of McConnell Twitter handle is no more. I have retired that. It is RotoBros Chris. So you can find me there on Twitter. You can also find me on Facebook at the Fantasy Sports Group, FSA Fantasy Sports Advice and Analysis, the largest, most active fantasy sports community on the planet. We cover all sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So definitely check that out. And also check out, of course, the RotoBros Patreon, where you're going to get Mark's DFS podcast during the season. You're going to get all my scouting briefs, of course. You're going to get the obviously the mother podcast that we do, throughout the year as well. And then the up and coming Dynasty podcast that a lot of people are ready for. I've gotten a lot of requests on that. Just got one 2 or 3 days ago as well. So we're going to be cranking that up here in the next month or two. And then you'll also receive exclusive access to the RotoBros Discord chat, where you can chat exclusively with Mark and me, and we can answer any questions that you have. And you can also chat with all the 40 plus other RotoBros Patreons. We call them RotoBroskis. So thanks to all the RotoBroskis as well. Guys, again, thanks for listening. I had a blast giving you this information. Let me know if you have any questions about Zack Moss. Good luck in your rookie drafts. Obviously, they're a little ways away, but it's never too early to wish you good luck. Some of you guys get started very, very early. So guys, anyway, have a great week. We'll be back later on this week, of course, with a couple other scouting briefs as well and some other players. You guys have a great night. And as always, keep balling, baby.